Hello, I am Deb Coviello, the Drop-In CEO, and I just want to thank you for dropping in, where week after week I find the most amazing leaders who share their insights, their experiences with you, and hopefully inspire you. And just know I am every single time. And we provide this resource, this podcast, because I sincerely care about C-suite leaders, aspiring leaders, entrepreneurs to help them navigate their career challenges with confidence. And today, I am delighted to have been introduced to Ryan Carey, who is the CEO behind BetterOn, a company dedicated to helping leaders and professionals build authentic presence on video, in person, and across workplaces. A pioneer in the video space, he was one of YouTube's earliest team members, witnessing firsthand the platform's explosive growth and transformative power. And after his own journey as a YouTube content creator, Ryan launched BetterOn in 2014, combining his unique insights into video with a mission to elevate workplace communication. He's done such tremendous work, but we're not going to take too much of his thunder. I just want to say, Ryan, thank you so much for dropping in on the show.
Deb, thank you so much. It's an honor to be here.
And me as well, because there is something about the creative content creative space that is so important to not only myself to be able to find my voice, to have presence and be able to create this content and connect with people out there that I so want to reach. And I really think what the things that you're going to share are so critical to whether you're a C-suite leader looking to make more meaningful impact, or somebody coming up in their career or entrepreneurship that it really wants to stand out and make a difference and be heard and seen. And I know Ryan's going to add so much value, but I am going to throw the mic back over to you, Ryan, and share a bit about yourself personally and your backstory.
Absolutely. So I'm based in Durham, North Carolina, and this is kind of where BetterOn headquarters is. I have a training studio, and I'll kind of explain a little bit more about that. But my journey to creating BetterOn and empowering leaders to practice being their authentic selves began long ago. A little bit about me. I think I'm an only child, which is kind of relevant. I think I kind of grew up entertaining myself a little bit and learning about how to adapt to various social situations. And with that came the world of humor and connection. And I say all of that because along the way, I think I always wanted to be somewhat of an entertainer. I identify as a bit of a closet entertainer. So I started my career in the world of online advertising, and I was living in San Francisco in the early aughts. And as I was in the sales world, so as I was kind of learning about that digital realm, YouTube popped up, and YouTube was local to us. And I got a link in an email to a youtube.com destination, and I clicked it, and I was just like, oh wow, like this is it. I've been waiting for this moment. So I found the then new head of monetization for YouTube, and I was not used to selling myself. I was not a very aggressive individual, but I got this guy's email and just said, look, man, I'll sweep the floors. Whatever you need, like, I want to get on this rocket ship. And I must mention, I didn't know at the time, I had never heard the word venture capital. It was still kind of like a startup was common, but it wasn't everywhere. I just, I just, I just believed in this thing that I was feeling, and I wanted in on it. And I had learned enough professionally, hopefully, to be helpful to them. So, and I went in for an interview, and they said, can you hang around? And they made me an offer by the end of the day. And I was on the original YouTube sales team. And 3 months later, Google acquires YouTube, and it all changes. And the whole way through, and I promise I'm going to get to what I'm doing now, but the whole way through, um, I just got to learn from the inside about how this new medium was changing the world. And I got to see how the world became closer through connection, through emotion, through creativity that had been democratized to so many people. So I basically got to like live on the inspiration that the early YouTube world was creating. In terms of my day to day, we had a sales team of like 8 people. Google had a sales team of 5,000. We were selling emotion. They were selling search keywords. So all of a sudden, we became very relevant because they had to sell emotion to all of their big clients. And so I just got the opportunity of a lifetime to be a YouTube evangelist on behalf of Google, working with their global sales teams to just go in and honestly talk about why YouTube's cool. Why should they think about it? Why, and to us, it was not a question, but of course, in terms of spending budget, that's a whole other world. So I did it domestically, and then I did it globally, and then inevitably relocated to Sydney to help them roll out YouTube there. And that was about 7 years in, and I had learned enough and kind of realized then that, wow, I've had an amazing ride at a pretty young age. Is this what I'm meant to do? Is this where I want to be? Do I want to move up the ranks in sales and biz dev, even though it's an amazing company, or is there something more out there? And so that's when I kind of decided to jump without a net.
Mm.
Um, and I kind of knew that I knew enough to be dangerous. I had seen YouTube from an angle most people hadn't, and I could help any business, if need be, accelerate their video efforts and really figure out how to just get a handle on this new medium, which, by the way, a lot of organizations still don't have. Um, but during that time, there was a missing piece to what I wanted to, I think, put into play with my YouTube experience, which is that I could talk the talk, I could go into a conference room, but like many people on the business side, I didn't understand, what did it mean to be a creator? What did it mean to be out there and have a YouTube channel and know the back end and know the monetization side and know what it actually took to build and connect with another human being, or maybe millions, through a camera? So I took a year and kind of stumbled into my own YouTube series, where the concept was that I would tell people, hey, I'm in San Francisco, I'm not working. Um, it's a great situation, I know, but I want to give you my time. I want to give you my YouTube channel. Tell me what you would do if you were in my shoes that would be nice for the world or nice for someone else. And I will make you your own personal Ryan, signature YouTube video. And if I made it, people had to donate to a cause. So it was like meant to make one person feel good. It was a philanthropic effort. We took my name, Ryan Carey, and called it Ricariously, because essentially one person was living through me. And all that to say is that I got to spend a year practicing, well, learning about the muscle that is required to connect with someone else through a camera. And I learned that it's it's not easy, it's intimidating, it's possible with practice. It's great for your mental health because you're not on your phone, you're not on a computer, you're actually using everything you've got, heart, mind, soul, to connect to someone else. And somewhere in there, my very small audience was like, you're really good at this. And I was just like, I'm having the time of my life. So if I'm having fun doing something that somebody thinks I'm good at, there's got to be something here. So I also realized that I could teach what I'm doing. I could teach this. And half the battle is getting over yourself. Half the battle is being okay. Half the battle is being okay, um, seeing yourself, which a lot of people aren't. People don't like to hear the voice. People don't like to watch themselves. That's the big barrier. So let me get to the business side of where we are now. So I was having the time of my life, but I had to pay the bills. So it was kind of like, what do I do? And I decided to try this. At the time, I called it camera coaching. I said, I'm going to give this a shot because I knew that in the professional world, video was not going to slow down, but a lot of employees or execs were not running at the camera; they're running the other way. So I was like, "There's something there to help those people get a grip and get over themselves to share their gifts and grow their careers, ideally." So my first client, my first pilot, was a team of engineers from Google, and we sat in a room with a camera and a tripod for 2 days, and I just kind of hoped that it would work. It was recording ourselves and watching ourselves, and they loved it and they got a lot out of it. And I was like, okay, this is it. Let's go. That was 10 years ago. So fast forward 10 years from then, what had been more of an in-person, record yourself, watch yourself, live on site, has now evolved into an asynchronous video training platform that is globally accessible and scalable, that we train people to become more self-aware of how their audiences consume them in a fairly challenging but fun way. And we offer different packages and products, but it's been an interesting journey where over the past couple of years, we've evolved into this fully asynchronous mode where we can work with a lot of people simultaneously. And the results we've seen, thankfully, are even better than when I was doing it in person.
Oh, that's an amazing thing. And I so appreciate all that you do. You've given me so much material to dig into. And, just a little side note, shout out to Peter Gorel. He's an early mentor in my entrepreneurship. And I was putting out videos out on LinkedIn and was presenting myself as a professional, but a professional that was not moving too much, a little bit stodgy, had my talking points down to a T, and didn't smile as much. And he said, Deb, they're great content, but he said, get over yourself. And over time, and somebody, showing me a little bit more about what presence looks like, getting better video quality, I learned that one, it's okay to be myself, screw up my words, knock my microphone every once in a while. The hair is not exactly in place, but creating that three-dimensional experience, connecting with somebody through this format, I found was so powerful. One, I got good at it because I was starting to get comfortable with my voice and my presence on camera, but the impact that it made, either directly if I'm talking to somebody, or little by little, Deb, I saw your YouTube videos. I like what you're doing. In case they didn't want to consume the audio, video was another way for people to access my thoughts and connect with me asynchronously. So I truly value the point you said. Get over yourself. Anybody could get in front of a camera. You just have to figure out why, how, and a little bit of coaching.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. But I want to just get into a little bit about the why. So obviously, the power of helping people in whatever their pursuit is to be more comfortable on camera. But, why is this so important? Again, my demographic are C suite leaders. They may be heading up organizations, they're busy on the day to day sales, bottom line, all of that stuff. Why should they be thinking about, I need to be a content creator and have my voice and my message get out into the world? Because I don't think they're even thinking about that, but there's some power behind it. I'd love your thoughts on that.
Absolutely. So they're not thinking about it, I don't think. And I also think to me, it goes a little bit further upstream than creating content.
Hmm.
To me, and not a lot of people will say to themselves, huh, I need to do this. But to me, it's actually looking in a mirror. So everyone needs to look into a mirror, and on behalf of the people that they want to connect with, they need to do the work of seeing what their audience sees, getting what their audience gets, and making some calls. And this is kind of, like someone else can't do that for you. And whether it's sales with partners or clients, whether it's you with your internal org, whoever it is, it's humans and other humans. And I find so our mantra is record, reflect, repeat. And I find that just that muscle from a human to human two-way road is going to deepen connection. Like you can't connect with others until you connect with yourself. You can't put something out. You probably won't put something out unless you watch it and be like, you know what? That actually feels good. So I think that in the realm of like content creation, I see that of one of many outputs of doing this hard work, where I think the core piece is to boost your own self-awareness.
So let's go deeper into that. So somebody's out there, maybe they're working hard in their career, never even thought about putting any stuff on YouTube, but you're talking about it's not even about the content. It is about then that self-reflection and bringing something forward. So then let's go there a little bit. Why should somebody at wherever they're at in their career or in their building a business, what is the value of push the button, record, reflect, improve, repeat? What's happening in that process?
There's so many ways to look at this. I had a conversation this week with a good friend who's kind of jumped out of corporate and is just searching. And she said, I'm an approval addict.
Mm.
And we talked a lot about how growing up and just how a lot of people, school, parents, jobs, like we seek approval. We get the sticker, we get the raise, we get the title, and we're not really taught otherwise. And I think that what I'm talking about is start to approve yourself. Give yourself a chance to give yourself that. Um, and it's scary. It's daunting. We may not feel like we have the tools. It may sound hippy dippy to people, but at the end of the day, we're talking about we're talking about an individual. And I think that the reason I care so much about this and the reason that I bring a lot of tough love to this work is because I know that on the other side of these walls or these resistances that people may be like, I'm not doing that. That's like, where's the guarantee in my raise with that road? It's like, because I know on the other side of that, there's so much good stuff. And if you zoom out and you look at how people come off, how people connect with you, no one's really doing it amazingly. No one's, it's a pretty average bar out there, I think, for presence. So if you're a competitor out there and you're like, okay, it's like if you can get an edge, an authentic edge, you can't shortcut it, you can't BS it, you're going to win because you're not as scared as everybody else.
All right. So, yes. And because when I entered the field of consulting, then I said, okay, well, I'll give you a fractional quality leader, operations leader. And then I said, no, the playing field is too big. I cannot compete. I said, the drop in CEO, that's a whole story. I said, well, one, I got to find something that makes me unique. Nobody else is the drop in CEO. And then, I don't think there are many consultants in the manufacturing, quality, and operational excellence space, called the drop in CEO, that is doing video to create that connectivity. And over time, to your point, I kind of like what I see. I kind of like what I hear. What comes out of the mouth is okay. And so I approve myself and I am enjoying this so much. It was necessary to build a business, but I want to come back to then that deep work, because it sounds what you do is not necessarily teaching people how to do video, but deep psychological work. So what then might that look like for somebody that, again, is on your doorstep and
Yeah.
they're thinking about this journey, and what happens on the other side when they realize emotionally something's been holding them back, and what did they realize after that, for which you unleash the potential and says, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to create my own
Right.
brand. I'm going to create that video presence.
Our number one value is privacy and safety. And the reason for that is that we know how intimidating what we're talking about is,
Mm-hmm.
how delicate it is. I think um uh something that I hear get thrown around a lot, something that really one of my I would call it a fear. One of my fears is sitting in a circular room and with like a facilitator or moderator very casually saying, let's just easily go around the room and introduce ourselves and say who you are. And the reason for that is that idea of like, well, who are you, gets thrown around like it's nothing, where people spend their whole lives trying to figure that out and may never get there. So that's how seriously I take this looking in the mirror platform we have.
Mm.
All that to say, um, man, there are so
Has anybody ever cried through this
yes,
process? Then
absolutely.
let's
Okay,
go
okay,
there.
great. No,
Yeah.
that's okay. That is it. Perfect. Let me think of the most recent crier. I don't want people to think this is a common thing, but
Expressing emotion.
yes. Um, okay. I was working with a CTO, and she was a Latina woman working for a large tech corporation, um, representing Latin America, but had global peers. And we were doing the work and the reflection, and we were almost done the work. And I like to let people lead. I like to let people tell me what we're going to do. Of course, we have a framework that gets them out there, but I like people to say, "Okay, I get it now. I don't suck on camera. I'm going to go. I'm going to go grab the bull by the horns." And I don't know, it just makes my job so much fun. Um, anyway, she said, "All right, got it. I have energy for one more of these." And she's like, "I just want to try and do this message to my team." She'd been practicing messages to her team, to her org. In English, she said, "I want to practice this one in Spanish." I said, "Great, perfect." And so she did, and she watched it, and she got so emotional. And I just kind of said, you know, what's up? And she said, "When I watch myself speaking my second language in English, something with my eyebrows happens, and I don't believe myself. And when I watch myself do it in my native language, I'm so comfortable. That's me." And she's like, "When I do it in English, I see the girl who came to the States when she was 18 and hustled her way through college and worked her way up in an industry where when she shows up as a senior C-level woman, sometimes people are like, oh, the girl from marketing's here." So she's up against so much, but she was able in that moment to see herself. And all I can do is just create a space for that to happen.
When we reach a place, I'm getting goosebumps because I understand what that feel like. When you see, I'm not going to use the word authentic, but when you speak to, like you're speaking to the camera and you feel like you're speaking back, and the heart and the emotion and the perfect selection of words and the intonation and the expression on your face, there's no filter. You are being completely you. And when one is like that, you can connect with people so easily. We have too many filters. There are so many societal norms, and we think we need to be a certain way and get people's acknowledgement. When we get over ourselves and say, I'm just doing this for myself, and in the process of being able to express myself freely on camera, then people could see you and say, this is somebody I want to get to know. Well, what they're saying really resonates with me. That's a breakthrough. That's what you're doing, is helping people with some of these emotional, psychological breakthroughs to believe in themselves. And then the message evolves. That's the power of what I think you're doing. It's more than just coaching on the camera
Yes.
presence.
Yes.
It's so much. So let's just talk about professional presence, because I was coached about 8 years ago. Friendly person. I'm trying to move ahead in corporate, trying to have more impact. And they were a trusted space. And I said, what do I need to do to improve myself? And she said, well, you might want to consider presence. And at the time, I said, is it a new haircut, a new wardrobe? I'm not 6 foot. I cannot work the room with that gorgeous smile. But what do I need to do to have presence? Because I actually probably didn't understand what it was. She later told me what it was for which it resonates and it speaks to me. But in the context of the work that you do, talk to me a little bit more about professional presence. And how does that come into your coaching?
I think for how we approach the work, again, we follow the individual. So we work with companies who invest in their people,
Mm.
and we kind of, I mean, and that's kind of where it stops. And we rely the on the leader to give us the guardrails
Mm-hmm.
and say, what is professional to you? And of course, I mean, we don't put it
Mm.
under a microscope and say what's unprofessional, what is professional. But I think in the early days of doing this, It was like, this worry of like, oh man, is the idea of authenticity too loose for this work? And it was
Mhm.
like, oh no, there's an open field because everybody is, for lack of a better word, too professional, too
Oh,
they are restrained.
yes.
And so to me, we try to inject as much freedom as we can offer someone else and let them decide what they're going to do the next day and the next week, bring back to the office, or in the best cases, bring back to their family. I've had people tell me after doing this work, I feel more present with my kids. And so just that, we are not our roles, we are not our titles, we are not our jobs. So it's like, how can we build the human as much as possible so the company who's paying for them benefits?
So I love this. And again, I too, being able to be that expressive child. I was the first child. There's 5 years difference between myself and my sister. And I too felt I love to entertain. I love to sing, dance, be on stage, talk to myself, talk to my mother, anybody who would listen to me. And then society kind of put me in a box and squelched my voice. And now here I am on a podcast speaking whenever I want to. And so it's beautiful the work that you do. You bring out the best in people, but now just help me a little bit now more specifically with the work. Yes, you help people with their video presence, but is in the context of somebody building a personal brand entrepreneurship, or do you work within a corporate environment? And what is it that you're delivering for that environment? Love to get a little bit more specific because if there's
Sure.
somebody out there, I want them to think about, Ryan's who I need.
Absolutely. So it's usually within corporate, either a large cohort, 50, 100 people going through simultaneously, or a one-off.
Mm.
Um, we have our kind of basic program is a 4-week boot camp. And in those 4 weeks, and the reason it's 4 weeks is that's the minimum amount of time it takes to begin to learn a new behavior. Because we're talking about changing people's behavior. Um, and in that 4-week program, people record themselves and watch themselves going through a slew of both our foundational activities, and they can bring in any content they want. So if someone's working on a keynote, working on an all hands, working on a really hard conversation they have to have that doesn't feel good, you can workshop it all in our space. In certain packages, people get one-to-one time with their BetterOn guide. And let me just be specific about that. I made a decision a long time ago. We're not going to play in the coaching space. We are not we are not coaches. And I just, after watching and doing the work for so long, I realized we aren't. We are guides. So we refer to our team as guides. We guide people. So in some cases, the exec will get some one-to-one time to really drill down with what they want to work on. That's the entry level. From there, we have advanced programs. For some of our larger clients, we're in the process of actually designing their custom modules for specific outputs for their company on our platform. On the more scalable side, we have a self-guided program that people can go through at their own pace. And yeah, it's that's kind of where we start with people.
So let's talk a little bit about business. So,
Yeah,
you know, content creation is kind of like a side effect. It's how people show up to be able to connect with people, which is what you're coaching. But bottom line, people out there, yes, it sounds good. I don't have time. We don't have money, but we got all kinds of learning and development programs over there to fix people and just be more present. But talk to me maybe about the bottom line that, well, after the team has gone through this, what was the impact that potentially could impact? Hey, we're getting more sales. Hey, we're able to influence a workforce to work more efficiently. Tell me a little bit more of that. The so what?
absolutely. We are all about data in a safe way, of course, and feeding back to our clients, and really protecting their investment as much as
Mm.
possible. So, man, so there are a lot of areas here. So we're tracking how people view themselves throughout the program.
Mm.
We are tracking the amount of how many times they're going to the gym and how much time they're spending there. And all of, our platform can feed all that back. So if someone is, investing 6 hours of their time, we would hope to be able to see some positive results from that. If they're not showing up better than they were, that's a conversation that needs to be had. We're tracking the visual. We're tracking the how somebody actually, before and after. How do they
Mm.
come through? And I want to be clear there is that it's really fun to see somebody go from like, hi, my name's Ryan, and it's like, hey everybody, I'm Ryan. But that is outer change, which is great. We are all about the inner change. So we just want to make sure that you can't always put a number next to how people are behaviorally changing, but we're always doing our best. And then, of course, we are asking people about how this work that they're doing, like how much of it do they think affects their bottom line? So we report that back to clients.
And what I think, perhaps if I reframe a little bit, is what are the leading indicators of success? Because what you're doing is leading with the presence and their messaging and their influence and their confidence. All of that is leading indicators. When we close the gaps on those types of skills, they'll bring their A game with the technical part. And maybe you've removed a couple barriers from having to try to push an initiative through to being much more approachable and collaborative because they just show up and people want to work with them. And then the bottom line or the top line comes with. So I get it, but the leading indicators of before, after, it's really powerful. Wow. And I will say, listening to oneself and watching oneself can be scary. And then you say, do I really look like that? Do I really look that tired? I'll tell you, it was an eye opener for me because I realized I wasn't smiling enough. I was always engineer, focus, head down. I had to say, I forced myself to smile. And now it becomes a natural muscle or put my energy, stand up when I'm presenting versus sitting down. That lowers the energy. I would suggest to anybody, whether you're going to do in content creation or you have a keynote or a presentation, push the button, record yourself, take a look and see what you see. And do you like it? Because you said you have to be happy with yourself before other people can appreciate it. Oh my God. This is so powerful. And my audience, I'm going to talk directly to you because we're going to come back to Ryan. Don't be scared of the camera or your voice or what you have to say. Yes, you're technically very capable, but also we're in this world to influence and to inspire and to share our information with others. Forget about content creation, forget about maybe showing up on a camera, but using that as insight, you never know how maybe you're sending off the wrong vibes or not messaging in the right way. Or maybe if you smile, you might get a little bit more engagement. Think about those things as things you maybe can do now. And I encourage you to check out the work that Ryan Carey does. But Ryan, I really love what you do. And I would love to throw the mic back over to you to share some last thoughts with our audience. And because I really want them to consider what you've been saying.
Absolutely. Something that's just coming to mind now is something that we tell our clients a lot, which is don't be selfish. And what that means is that who you are and your presence is a gift that you have the ability to give. And don't keep it to yourself. And if you do decide to hit record, because by the way, you don't have to work with BetterOn to do this. Everybody has a camera sitting right there. You could practice right now if you really want to. But what I will say is that while it's very intimidating like, we are our own worst critic. We see all of our warts, and that is fine. It's also important to realize that no one cares. No one else cares. And when the light bulb goes on, you will realize that the hard work is not actually watching yourself. The hard work is that you have to find a way to get someone to care in an authentic way. So it's a whole new journey. The first part is watching yourself. The second part is like, oh man, no one's even watching or listening to me. I've got to really try.
Oh, what a great message. Very actionable. To my listeners, I encourage you check out Ryan, look in the show notes to get all of his information. But Ryan, I just want to say I am grateful to have been introduced to you, learn from you, validate the journey I've been on. There's so many people out there that should and could be able to leverage your stuff. I just want to say thank you so much for dropping in and being an amazing guest.
Thank you so much, Deb. I appreciate it.